Alright, I hope you guys don't mind this background here. I just want to play some games right now. So, it's been a while since I've done a Zelda game, and I know some people want me to do some bad games right now, but that's not what I want to do, at least for right now. You know, I'm a fan of Zelda. I have to do at least one more game before, God forbid, something horrible happens with my money. So, let's not waste any more time here. Let's get started. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. Well, let me just say something about the system first off. There was a time where I started getting into playing older games I haven't played before. That and playing so many titles from the franchise that I was gonna have to play this game eventually. I didn't grow up with the Super Nintendo. I've played a few games as a kid, but that was only for about a week. And in 2010, I finally got a chance to play the first Super Nintendo game that I had owned, along with being one of the last Zelda games I needed to play. That was a few years after I played Ocarina of Time, and like that game, I hear that this was the best game in the series. Unfortunately for me, I hated this game for reasons that was more in preference. I just never got the appeal. It wasn't the fact that it was a top-down game or because of the controls or the difficulty. After I have beaten the game once on the Super Nintendo and once on the Game Boy Advance port, I had no desire to go back. But I don't know, that was 5 years ago. This time I played the game twice, the first time for fun and the second time for this video. Maybe my thoughts have changed. Well, let's not waste any more time and let us get this game started. It's been quite some time since I looked at a game's plot, so I apologize if I sound rusty since the story of my Metroid Prime review. The Princess of Hyrule named Zelda is held captive while the 7 sages who sealed away the monster known as Ganon years ago are now locked away in the Dark World. A new sorcerer by the name of Agnem has created events to bring Ganon back and take over Hyrule. It should be said that A Link to the Past, despite being a game released after the first Legend of Zelda, is actually a prequel to it. It has all been explained in the Zelda timeline, which I used to be interested in, but later down the road, the certain Zelda game has actually made me stop caring. Let me make it clear that at this point, I would just focus on the story from whatever Zelda game I play, and from that game only, unless if prequels and sequels are considered, and in Link to the Past's case, it's easy to understand. Players once again take control as Link. He receives a telepathic message from the princess herself to save her, but eventually finds his uncle dying later in the process. It's not too long once you have saved Zelda, but the goal now is to stop Agnem by collecting the 3 sacred pendants to open the way towards the Master Sword, one of the most popular sword weapons in gaming, handcrafted by Link's mentor, Shahashala. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that. Once you start your adventure, you already notice structures and landmarks that make Hyrule a much livelier overworld compared to Zelda 1. You do have guards and citizens scolding you for apparently kidnapping Zelda, but at least the overworld doesn't look barren this time. In case you don't know where your next goal is, Shahalala can offer hints and advice. If that's not enough, you also, and I'm not kidding here, you actually get a map system with a simple tap of the X button. Now, proving yourself to gain access to the Master Sword requires Link to head through 3 dungeons in Hyrule. They're all rather simple and you can improve your skills by solving puzzles and new techniques. Then it's just a matter of defeating the bosses in each dungeon to earn that pendant. Again, pretty easy all things considered, except for the freaking Molten boss in the Tower of Hera. What the hell? I should have known. Old cartridges can do that to you. Virtual Console is a savior, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, once you have obtained the Master Sword, Agnem captures Zelda and finally sends her and Link to the Dark World. I never got why Agnem sent us there. That just made us one step closer to finding the sages. He probably could have let us stay on top of Hyrule Castle and there would be no way of us heading to the Dark World in the first place. But yes, once you have completed the first 3 dungeons, you are then greeted to the 7 new Dark World palaces where all the sages are locked in. Every creature seems to be more threatening here, but the townsfolk are now weird-looking aliens. You know, the more I think about it, the more I believe that Link to the Past actually has some dark moments to it. Your uncle dies in the beginning of the game, the King of Hyrule got incinerated during the prologue, and Agnem kills the Sanctuary Keeper who was watching Zelda. A Link to the Past doesn't screw around with baby players, and I think the Dark World actually proves that with its challenge. The coolest thing about the Dark World is the free exploration you get. Zelda 1 did that as well, but A Link to the Past takes that, capitalizes it, and has become one of my favorite aspects from the Zelda series. You can even world shift using the magic mirror to reach areas you couldn't get to before and obtain upgrades, and then new to the series, heart pieces, collect 4 to increase your life count. Once again, in case you do not know of your next location, Link's mentor can solve that for you. Not that it matters, because for the most part the Dark World Palaces can be beaten outside of the intended order. This can give you an edge with your inventory if you choose to take advantage of the last weapon you earn from the palace. These items are some of the best I've seen in any Zelda game, as a lot of them have creative uses or work against a boss that doesn't involve the dungeon-specific weapon. The Dark World Palaces are pretty challenging, and while they are visually distinct from one another, I can't help but feel they lack in creative puzzles and different layouts. I can at least enjoy playing through some of them. The Dark Palace, Swamp Palace, and Thieves' Hideout are dungeons I do like, but Skull Woods, the Super Nintendo version of Ice Palace, and Turtle Rock, I absolutely hate. Skull Woods because of the floor masters, Ice Palace because of the amount of backtracking, and Turtle Rock for the many dark rooms with bottomless pits. Once you have rescued the 7 sages and defeated Agnem, it turns out that Ganon was released from Agnem and awaits for Link for the final confrontation and the final fight. And holy crap, you have to be prepared with magic, arrows, and potions. This is easily the hardest final boss in any Zelda game I've played. First off, you have to make sure you have the silver arrows in the first place. It isn't as difficult to find unlike Zelda 1, but you still need to go out of your way to obtain them. Also, in the second phase of the fight, there are holes that if you fall into, the battle will restart, similarly to the Moldorm fight. But when it's all said and done, Ganon will soon reach his demise and Link would succeed, grabbing the Triforce and restoring peace to Hyrule and the Dark World. Ganon is now sealed away and the Master Sword is now put back to its pedestal, until there are about 5 more games that uses it again. Now, I've already stated that I was not fond of The Link to the Past for the first couple of times I've played it. It's sort of hard to explain, but I seem to have been spoiled with other Zelda titles in the series, whether it's because of the story, dungeons, overworld, and the music. I've already talked about the dungeons, they're okay at the least. The overworld, on the other hand, has bored me ever since I started exploring it. It is better than Zelda 1's overworld, yes, but there wasn't as much variety. I probably have to blame Zelda Classic for this one. Yeah, it's not really a very fair comparison, but there are fan games that use A Link to the Past as map and makes that better. Graphics and sound also didn't get me into the game either. Other popular Super Nintendos always had a distinct art style, whether it's atmospheric or really colorful. With this game, I couldn't see either of them being used as well. It looks kind of bleak to me. The music is minimal, nothing bad. I enjoy the Hidden Mountain theme and Hyrule Castle's theme, but that's it. I apologize if this may sound harsh to those fans out there, but if it makes anyone feel better, the Dark World theme is probably my favorite theme in the Zelda franchise, so there's that. However, the positives here have outweighed my disinterest with A Link to the Past. Like any Super Nintendo game, they were designed to take the NES predecessor and expanded it. It's what you would expect from a console transition, and pretty much everything that made Zelda 1 popular was in A Link to the Past and more. The game picks up quickly, the controls are still good, and it makes me want to keep coming back. I would say that my preferences towards this game, I don't think A Link to the Past does much for me as a Zelda game, but everything else made the game still feel fun, and I'm glad it changed my thought. Is it the best Zelda game ever? Well, I'm not so sure about that, but best 2D Zelda sounds more like it. Thank you everyone for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all whenever. Take care.